What up, Footer Nation? Gary Hootenholla here, and welcome to another episode of the Round Table right here from the great state of New York. I have one of my best friends here, Mr. Joe Sasquatch from Western New York Bigfoot Research Organization here. What's up, Joe?
Not much. Never had one lesson.
Here we go. Here we go with the Joe shenanigans. What's up
That's
with the
right.
sunglasses at night thing? This is a brand new thing I'm seeing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Got to try out different stuff, man.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, my new looks, man.
Your new looks?
Yeah.
What's going on, Kay from Texas? Thank you. Barbara, Loretta, thank you for joining us. So this show is not going to be for everybody, okay? And I'm going to say that straight out. People that know me, I'm very blunt, and I get right to the point. And Joe's really no different. That's why Joe and I get along so well. But because I'm blunt, I'm going to get right to the point. The show will not be for everybody. This show is about the possibilities of when we start getting into the photography that we look at, when people start showing us blob squatches, as we call them, okay, or the blurry pictures, the different types of things that people can see in these pictures when they zoom in on the pixelation and things like that. So if that's something that you're into and you believe in things like that, you don't believe in pareidolia, Angela, what's up? You don't believe in pareidolia and things like that, then this show is not going to be for you, because we're going to get into the science and all that stuff of how cameras work, how videography works, what these pictures more than likely are. Now, I am going to put a stipulation in there, because as long as somebody came to me, and I work with somebody that does send these type of pictures to me, but as long as somebody comes to me and can give me an educated hypothesis behind what they're looking at, and I can actually see what they're looking at because they did the work, they did the research, they were boots on the ground right there and then I could be very open-minded to the conversation and be like, listen, maybe you are dealing with a forest elemental, maybe you are dealing with a forest paranormal type energy, or just energy in general. So once again, you need to understand that the NYBS is very open to all aspects of what Bigfoot phenomena is, regardless of what I personally believe as a flesh and blood Bigfoot guy. So I want to definitely put that stipulation out there, because we do work with people that are very good at what they do, and they are able to then kind of show me what they're seeing, and I can kind of see it. And if I can kind of see it, guess what? I just do that I don't know, which is totally cool with everybody. You can say I don't know and just be cool with it and end it there. We don't have to have an answer. But as long as there's an educated hypothesis behind that. Joe, would you like to add to that before we get into the conversation?
Yeah, I kind of missed out on some of it because I had to close my doors because the dog was barking. But I get your gist. Yeah, I mean, I myself, I rarely, unless somebody sends me a picture and directly asks, hey, look at this picture. There's a Bigfoot in this picture. It's right there. What do you think? And um, uh, then I'll give you an opinion. And well, you're either gonna accept it or not. You might not like it, especially if I don't see the Bigfoot you think you're seeing. But normally that's why I don't I don't usually comment on other people's pictures, because at the end of the day, my favorite saying, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what I say about a picture. It doesn't matter what I see or what I don't see. I'm not going to change the mind of the person that took that picture. So but I know some people who, well, they might be like-minded, but and I used to too. I used to get irritated, at people that would put up a picture of a stump, and it's so obviously a freaking stump, but it's like, look at this Sasquatch. And then there's other people going, wow, great catch. Wow, he's really huge. And I'm like, huh? But that doesn't bother me anymore, because I'm like, you know what? People are going to look at pictures. They're going to see what they see. It's only when you start getting into negatively affecting people's lives by your pronouncements is when it really starts to bug me then. But
Yep, and we're going to get into that. And I just want to give a shout out to our boy William. He's one of our ambassadors. He's in the chat room. Make sure to show William some love, because that guy is, oh my God, I love him, and his knowledge of the backwoods is absolutely epic. Yeah, the hunter man, that's what we call him, and he's epic. So make sure to always show our boy William some love, please, just like you show us some love. So, all right, and let's get right into what you just brought up. All right, in the fact of, all right, this can affect people's lives, and you know, like you said, normally I scroll by this stuff, you know, I'm just like whatever, blah blah blah, because I'm not about looking at stumps and tree funguses and molds. And I took a bunch of pictures while I was in the woods recently. I'm gonna post them up on the NYBS page of what possibly. Mike, what's going on? And our boy Mike has come in. Now, disclaimer, why Mike just came in, and make sure to show Mike some love because he's another NYBS ambassador. Mike is one of the only people, and Joe will agree with me, that we will look at these pictures that are, you know, grainy, blurry in nature, because Mike is out there doing the work. Like he just said, he was out in the field today. This guy is boots on the ground and can give you a logical reason why it is what it is. That is not overly what we're talking about tonight, is not the people like Mike from Long Island Bigfoot, and make sure to go check him out. He does great work in the field, and I love that guy. But once again, it's not talking about the people that can give you a background of what they're looking at, what they're seeing, because they have an education beyond Bigfoot. It's not just Bigfoot, it's beyond Bigfoot. We're talking about what Joe just brought up. The everyday person that sees people like Mike, okay, who are taking these pictures but don't really know what they're looking at. They don't know. Mike can sit there and dissect everything, okay? We've seen things in Mike's videos, and Joe and I, before I met Mike, Joe, you could probably agree with this. I don't want to speak for you, but we would never give that stuff a time of day. Like I would just be like, whatever, it's whatever. Mike comes along, and the next thing you know, we're like, all right. And then he starts showing us some stuff, and Joe and I are like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's there. It's there.
Mike gets pictures that I can't explain them, but at least I can say that I can see something, man. And I mean, I see things, you know, where, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but, you know, and you know, maybe even Mike is wrong, but, you know, I've seen plenty of his pictures where, you know, what this big, huge, and I'm like, well, you know, most everybody else is going to say, well, that's, you know, same thing as they always say about every freaking Bigfoot picture, usually. And, you know, that's really blurry. But the thing is, there's something there. It's not just a dark spot on a tree or shadows on a bush. It's actually something physically freaking there, man. Now
it's something there.
Maybe I can't say, you know, 100%, well, that's a Sasquatch, but in my mind, I'm probably thinking that looks like a freaking Sasquatch, man.
Or like a pixie or a fairy.
Mike isn't even, you know, and I don't mean to say this negatively towards Mike. Mike's not even in this picture for me, because Mike takes pictures that, while a lot of it is stuff I can't explain, I don't think it's just pareidolia. Whereas a lot of the stuff I see on the internet for some of these pages, and I understand people are having fun with this. There's no problem with that, okay? But a lot of the stuff, all it is just
like a rock star.
It's like a circle, you know? It's like, oh, look, circle. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I see some dark spots on a tree that's probably bark.
Or tree fungus. Like, this is the thing, and we're going to get into that.
It's a Sasquatch. And I'm like, how is that a Sasquatch, man?
Exactly. And there's more, and there's so much more than just Sasquatch in the woods. We know that. And Jay Hayes, you know, he said it perfectly, and I put it up there. We do need real proof, okay? We do. For, you know, and once again, Joe and I were just talking about this before the show. we have a group chat and we talk all day long and we talk about everything. Our conversations are pretty fucked up. I'm just gonna say
Sometimes they are.
it's so much fun. But that's the cool thing is you meet people and you have fun. But we do talk serious research. I mean, that's why we're here doing this. So one thing is, you know, I was like, you know what? I always said in the back of my mind, I'm not out to prove anything to anybody. I've seen 1.5 Sasquatch, and the reason I always say 1.5, there's a story to that. Well, no, there's a story for that.
I've never seen half of one.
Well, Kenny brought it up to me because me and my boy Kenny Irish, you know, make sure to give Kenny some love. Everybody, buy his book, American Cryptids, please, please, please.
Was it the top half or the bottom half?
So it was half, and then
because if it was the bottom half, you know, Molly's going to want to talk to you.
That is true, but at the end of the day, like what the problem is the first, and the reason we call it the half encounter is because, you know, I know what I saw, but I didn't know what I saw. And it was the first time I had an encounter. I'm looking at what I know I'm looking at, but in my mind, I wouldn't bring myself to that level of being like I seen a Bigfoot, even though I was staring at a Bigfoot. It's that flight or fright in my brain, logical brain getting in the way. And then when it turned slowly and walked through the woods and I watched it slowly walk away, I mean, it was a Bigfoot. But the reason we call that my half encounter was because I was still at the point of being like, well, I mean, I know what I saw, but I talked myself right back out of it. Or my other encounter, I was staring the thing in the face. Totally different. And I still won't even, this is the funny thing. And I told you this, I tell everybody, my encounter I had in January, I still won't talk about. I haven't even processed that. I put that in the side thing. And even as a Bigfoot researcher, I've been doing this a long time. I just haven't processed it yet. So that's the 1.5 encounter. But anyway, so when we get into the pictures and we get into pareidolia, and I agree with Jay, in order to prove things, and I hate to use the word proof, but indirectly, Joe and I are doing that, even though we will tell you that we're not out to prove anybody nothing. And that's what we were talking about. And that's where I was going with this, is that at the end of the day, when we try to show you a tree structure with a foot track, or we try to show you a footprint, or we try to show you these things that we find out in the wilderness, okay, we're trying to prove it indirectly because the facts are the facts. So we're like, here's a foot track, and Joe's my track guy. I go to him for all track knowledge. But here's a track. This is what it is. We found it next to this possible like gifting area and we go on and on and on about it. But we are trying to prove it, even though in our brains that's not how we think. Because Joe's had an encounter, I've had an encounter, 1.5, and so we know they exist. But the difference is that, you know, we're not trying to prove it for ourselves, but like Joe says, for the people that have had sightings and things like that, to show them that they're not crazy, then you know kind of what you saw.
Yeah,
so
I like to say, you know, like I said before, I like to say that, you know, I'm not really out to prove it, not to the world, not to science. I'm out to validate the people that are following my page. I'm out to validate it. I don't have to prove it to myself because I've had the encounters, you know. And I've had that really good face-to-face one, you know. The other two were, you know, the one was the infrasound thing that I talk about, you know, and I've talked about before, where I only caught like a glimpse of it as it was going one way and I was exiting the other. And the very first one was just a bunch of noise and sounds and pine cones. But, you know, it's, so I know they're out there, right? So, you know, and that's the other thing that makes me laugh, is because when I look at these pictures and somebody goes, oh, there's lots of Sasquatch activity around here, and they show you a picture with no data in the picture, but it's just like, and you're looking at it going, what are you trying to show me here? And you realize, you know, oh, they're trying to say there's a track there, and it's just a scuff in the ground, or it might be water erosion that looks vaguely foot shaped foot shaped. You know, and it's like, there's no data there. That's not a footprint. And then when you say, you know, that's not a footprint, and they tell you, oh, well, you don't believe, you're a non-believer. Like, I've seen one. What do you mean I'm a non-believer? I know they exist. I also know that that's not a footprint. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to educate you. I mean, if
Okay.
you're really serious about this, man, you've got to do the analysis. Look, I'm not an expert on footprints like my favorite guy in the world, Jeff Meldrum. Okay,
Meldra,
he's
as
not my
Molly would say,
he's not yeah Melgrew. He's
Melgrew.
okay. He's not my favorite guy in the world, but I have respect for him. Okay, because of his expertise. Now, I'm not saying that I'm an expert in foot morphology, but I do know Sasquatch prints because I have studied his work. I've studied other work. You know who else is really a good one when it comes to checking out prints is Cliff Barrickman. He's really good at it
Mm-hmm.
too. And I've studied other things. So yeah, I do have what I would consider not an expertise, but I have a good working knowledge of footprints. But that being said, I've been fooled. I've been fooled out there where, I get excited. I'm like, oh my God, look at this. It looks like a track. Oh my God, it's a track. And I'll start looking at it. And then once I really start analyzing it, I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, that's not a track. It looks foot shaped, but it's not a track, And so, I can be fooled by things. When I first ran into a double bear footprint, I thought, oh my God, look at this Sasquatch print. Oh, it wasn't. It was a bear double step, man. His back foot stepped on his front paw, and it made it look even bigger. And until I knew better, I would have swore up and down that was a Sasquatch print.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. And
No.
you just try to educate people, but some people get the Bigfoot on the brain. They want so much to believe that they have Sasquatch around the area that they're in that, no matter what you tell them, it's like, nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're a meanie poo-poo head. I'm banning you from my page.
But this is I'm glad you brought that up because that's honestly where this picture thing comes from. All right. So as we know, we see these pictures. So a lot of the Footer Nation who is in the chat and watching this, I'm sure you've come across these pictures in all these groups, all these different Bigfoot groups, because now there's like hundreds and hundreds of them, and things like that. And and Mike, I agree. Footprints are gifts, and they are, because for someone like Joe and I, for the flesh and blood believers of Bigfoot, it is a gift. I mean, when you get a footprint and a nice solid footprint that you know what you're looking at, then we're like, listen, that is a big footprint. There's no way around it. Okay. Yeah. It's not a bear double step. It's not a deer scrape. It's not those things. And there's the toes, and they're rare. And that's why it would be, I totally agree with you. A footprint would be a gift. I agree right there.
Absolutely.
Especially for us.
Absolutely.
But when we get into the pictures now, we go to these, we see all these grainy pictures. And then the big thing that I see is, the paranormal Bigfoot field part is picking up steam more and more and more because of what you said, Joe. When people believe so wholeheartedly in Bigfoot, then everything becomes a Bigfoot no matter what. But even you take people like you and I who have had encounters. Now some of these people that believe in it so much, they haven't even had a real encounter.
Right.
They never really seen one. And they kind of produce that in their mind. That they saw this picture it's all grainy and you can see clear as day it's a tree stump, and they're trying to tell us it's an arm. And I'm like, no, that's a tree stump. Like, that's what it is. And it's okay that it's a tree stump and not a Sasquatch arm. And then they come at you like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was there. And I'm like, you're right. I'm not going to argue with you because you were there. And that's okay. And if that's what you believe, guess what? That's okay. Because I'm okay with you believing. I mean, listen, I don't care, because I'm just trying to give you the facts. The facts of the matter is, if I can then show you in A, B, C, D, through science, through technology, understanding how this stuff works, how cameras work, how video cameras work. I have a professional photographer that I use for pictures. Like I've used her in the past. She went to college for this stuff. She owns her own business. This is what she does. All right. I can send that stuff to her, and guess what? She's gonna dissect it from me. There's ways that we can't even dissect it. I use her for paranormal work too sometimes. And she's able to give me a report that to me, I'm like, what is all this? Like, because I don't know what it's talking about really, because I'm not a cameraman. But then she goes down through the film and goes down through everything with me. You know, let me see what Mike say. If 50% of people show you what you see. Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, if 50% of people you show see what you're showing, and that's right, Mike. And, you know, I guess in from your side of it, in your field, as Joe and I said, you know, earlier, but you have the data to back that up. Like, that's why Joe and I are kind of like, well, you have the data. We know you do this. We're talking about these everyday people now that come into the Bigfoot, like the one girl that we love on our team that said, in order to be a professional Bigfoot person and expert, you have to watch Bigfoot TV.
Absolutely.
That's what she said. Like, yeah, no, the shows.
Watch a lot of shows.
You gotta watch a lot of Bigfoot shows. Meanwhile, exactly. Well, then, I mean, I must be an expert because I've been on multiple TV shows.
You've been on them, yeah. So
I've been on them, and I'm not an expert. I'm just an everyday person who goes in the woods. That's it.
You've been on TV Bigfoot shows, and I should just give up because
I should give up too because I should be done. I mean, we should just quit.
We're done, man.
We're done. Deuces. All right, we got to pick a new subject.
You know, the funny thing is, you say I've had the opposite thing happen to me, where I had somebody tell me one time on one of my videos or whatever that I was breaking down and just trying to analyze stuff. And somebody said, "Oh, wow, you had 3 dog men back there in the background watching you." And I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, there's 3 dog men. They were crouched down in the back. You can see them off to the left. Look off to the left. And I'm looking at my own video and I'm going, I don't see no dog men. I don't see anything. I see trees. But you know what? And this is my video. I was there at the time during the day. There was nothing around except for me, but yet this person swears those are 3 dog men back there. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, man.
Well, yeah. And this is here's something that we can think about. And let's think about this. And I want to let's give people like that an open-minded take, okay?
I'm about to get interrupted.
Uh-oh.
What?
We love Molly.
That's Molly. Who I'm talking about.
So we love you, Molly. We love you. So anyway, when we get into these, I'm going to give it an open-minded look right now. What if, and I always put the twist on it, what if people are able to see things, certain people can see some things, and certain people can't see others? So hypothetically, can we talk about psychics? Regardless of how you feel about psychics can see things, they can talk to people, they can hear things, blah, blah. We understand that, okay?
Remote viewing has been
remote viewing.
Okay. Thing. Yeah,
so when we get into the psychic senses of that stuff, let's take that. What if now we, for whatever reason, what's maybe photos may be the same. Maybe that if we're looking at a photo, maybe someone can see something that we can't see, and it's almost like being a psychic, where psychics can talk to, deceased people, but not all of us can do that. So maybe, just maybe, that's why some of these people are posting these type of pictures, because they're able to see something that the normal everyday person can't, because they may have that sense that they're able to pick something out of a picture or an object. And like view it differently than someone like you and I, who may be closed-minded to the subject matter. Mm-hmm. So because we're and I say closed-minded, even though we're open to the subject matter, we're already thinking about our way. Right. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate and keep an open mind to that. Maybe that, but that still doesn't explain this. Friends out there, listen, there's a lot of new people interested in the Bigfoot phenomena, which is great. Okay. I mean, there's new people coming into the crypto world every day. All right. With that being said, is this, they're watching what people are posting. I get pictures all the time from the noobs. They're like, Gary, look at this. Oh, I went into my backyard and look at, I got 6 Sasquatch, and they start circling them all over the place. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. And I'm like, I'm trying to be nice about it in my head, but because they don't know. And then they'll tell me, well, so-and-so told me that I have this, this, and this because I saw it on this Facebook page and they're posting this. And I'm just like, but what's behind it? Like, you're not telling me anything. All you're doing is giving me a picture, and then you're automatically stating you have all these Sasquatch in your picture, but you haven't done any research. Where's the research? Where's all your data, as Mike could say, data damn man, as he likes to call me, okay? Because that's what it is. So where's your research behind that, okay? That you're going to tell me you have 6 Sasquatch in these pictures. So this is when that becomes an issue, because this is the new trending thing we're seeing time and time again. Now, there are people out there, other researchers, trying to prove the existence of Bigfoot. Like, I mean, let's be real. People are hunting them. People
they want to prove it's science.
They want to prove it to science. People are out there hunting them. People are out there doing what we do in a non-evasive way because we're a no-kill proponent. But people are out there trying to do science and real research in science, spending thousands of dollars, and not even just money, time. All right. It takes a lot of time. We put our families aside for this hobby. All it is a hobby. It's all it is. It's an interest. That's it. But it's an obsessive hobby. So here we are doing this work, going out into the woods, obsessing about what we're doing to try to get for ourselves that one holy grail piece of evidence, a sighting or an encounter or that footprint that's so perfect that when you cast it, you're just like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, that's it. This is why we do this. The problem with this now is that all these people are flooding the interwebs with all these pictures of pareidolia, all these pictures that there's no background research done on anything.
Right.
Right. And then that causes a problem in the Bigfoot community as far as there's people trying to do the work, but now those people, their work is looked down upon because they're like, well, all you Bigfooters, all you do is post shitty ass pictures that there's nothing on it. So even though someone posts a shitty ass picture, guess what? That looks bad on Joe and I. That looks bad on Mike. That looks bad on William. That looks bad on Diane. That looks bad on all these people out in the woods doing the work, because even though we didn't do it, they still group us in the same category of Bigfoot believers. And that's what it comes down into, Bigfoot believers. Even the bigwigs in the Bigfoot field, which they're normal people. I mean, let's be real. Dr. Meldrum is a doctor, okay? He has a degree, but he's a teacher. That's what he is. He's a teacher. But like Cliff Barackman, all these guys, great people, but they're just people. That's it. Mm-hmm. They're not anything other than different than all of us, other than they're obsessive compulsive about a subject matter. And they go out and they're always out there and do it. And they sacrifice a lot to be that obsessive compulsive about things. That's the honesty. We live it. We live it daily.
And to play off of that, you don't see Cliff Barackman posting a bunch of blurry things and saying it's a Sasquatch.
No, because he knows better, because once again, he's still, and the reason I even brought that up, people bash Cliff. Like there's people that, and you're talking about Bigfoot people that once again are like skeptics, but they want to believe because they're scientifically they want to believe. But you read these things and they rip these people apart because once again they're still in the Bigfoot believers category. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like your boy Matt Moneymaker. You know, regardless, he does, what he finds, what he doesn't find, and we kind of debate it all day long
I
because we're
love
just like,
him. He's my hero.
he's yeah. So, but in the same way, he's a Bigfoot believer. We get grouped into that category. So when friends, when you're posting all these pictures, really take into consideration that when people, yeah, Mike Cliff is a stand-up guy. We love him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, when someone posts something that's crappy, like a bear double step and all these things, guess what that does? It makes all of us in the Bigfoot community look pretty much the same in a lump sum because they lump us together. They do. As much as people are like, well, you have your top guys over here. Listen, if you go across some of these pages, you see it. You know what I mean? You see it.
Yeah.
All right. And it's sad. And these people are the ones that are out there really trying to get it done because they have the time, they have the resources, they have the passion, they have the real passion to do it. But then when you have all these grainy pictures, because it's trending, it really, Joe, don't you agree? It's like really trending right now.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's why you will never see and everybody that goes on my page, they can probably tell you though. They'll be like, man, I don't ever see pictures of Bigfoot on that guy's page. No, you don't. You know why? There's a good reason for that. Because I've never gotten a picture of one.
No.
I've never gotten a picture of one. I've seen one face to face, sure. Didn't get a picture of him either. Wasn't thinking about getting a picture of him at the time either.
Yep.
And so yeah, I could probably go through all my pictures, and if I want to start making circles and stuff on stuff, I could probably put up pictures that a lot of those people be like, oh yeah, I see the Bigfoot, but I've never seen a Bigfoot in my pictures. I've seen things that like once or twice where I go, what is that? Not sure what it is, and it doesn't even just go for like pictures of Bigfoot. Okay. It also goes for like we talk about, the tree structure thing. Now, when it comes to tree structures, I'm always saying, you know what, I'm on the fence about most of it, and I do have my biases about some of it, right? As we talked about before, blinds, okay? Blinds, I'm pretty convinced, yep, they do that. Now, could I be wrong and they don't do it at all? Yeah, possibly, but then again, like we found, I found a blind. Hey, I've seen this many times before. Look, oh, there's a footprint. It's an old footprint, but very obviously an actual footprint. Okay, so do they make blinds? Yeah. So if I find a blind out in the woods, well, am I going to automatically go, oh, Bigfoot made it? No. I'm going to look at it and think, well, did Bigfoot make this one? Well, let's analyze it. And let's see if I can find anything that backs up the fact that this particular one was made by a Bigfoot.
No,
and if I can't, I'm not going to put it up and go, look, this is a Bigfoot blind. I'm going to go, look, this might be a Bigfoot blind because it matches some of the other ones I've found that I know were. But this particular one, can I say 100% that it is? Nope. Just like the analysis I did on the tree bends and the break. One break that I'm pretty much convinced. One break that I saw, it was, hey, look, anybody else, I guarantee you, that would have been on. Look at this Bigfoot break. It's 9 feet up in the air. Look how strong he was to be able to break this tree across this trail. You know what? We had a windstorm on April 30th when I was out there freezing my butt off with 45-mile-an-hour gusts. That's probably what broke that tree. I couldn't come up with anything that really told me that a Bigfoot did that one. Now, there were 2 other arches there. Okay, maybe. But I'm still not going to say absolutely 100%. And the only reason I say maybe is because, yeah, that's the forest where I encountered Rasta. Okay. That's one of the only reasons I say maybe. If I'd never had that encounter, I probably would have went, it looks weird. It's probably natural though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up because that's true. Once again, it even goes back to us as Bigfoot believers. You know what I mean? We tend to think differently in the areas we know that we've had Bigfoot activity, including myself. I don't disagree. But what is the most remote area of the lower 48? So, Jay, I'll get to your question in one sec. So the cool thing though is, you know, I'm not going to get into the tree structure thing. If anybody has any questions on my take on tree structures, I made a video this morning about it. You can watch it. I mean, it gives my explanation. The New York Bigfoot Society, the way we do things with tree structures is this. If we do not find a footprint where the tree structure is, it's natural. That's the way I leave it. A 600-pound creature, a 500-pound creature that builds something will leave sign. Will leave sign.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I weigh 185 pounds. I build structures in the woods to use as decoys. And guess what I do? I leave sign. If I was to leave that area, you would know I was there. You could see, I mean, a stick scrape across the ground, things like that. Now we're talking about trees that are huge, huge. There's no way a Bigfoot's going to carry a huge ass tree, a full size tree. Like you see the ones in Canada where they're like a full size tree,
Yeah,
and then put it. Yeah, and then they make up. There's no way. I'm sorry. They're not superhuman strength. And even if they did, now that Bigfoot went from weighing 600 pounds because it would have to weigh a ton just to lift that thing, to now you added a couple more 100 pounds to that Bigfoot to then walk across the forest to put this tree in a TP structure, and you're telling me that there's no tracks, no Bigfoot, no scrapes, no anything? Come on, that's not logical. I can show you 100 deer beds in the woods where deer walk and they lay down. I can show you all over the place. I can show you where chipmunks dig. I can show you where squirrels dig and squirrels run across. My boy Will can show you anything in the woods because he's the master at that stuff because he's a tracker. A Bigfoot would leave. I'm sorry, they would leave some kind of footprint and sign, like Joe said, behind the blind that he found when we were at a case. And then I was like, eh. And then next thing you know, we both looked down and like, oh, wait, there's a track. That then makes that blind something.
And well, we still had to analyze that track pretty carefully.
And it was old.
Determine that it was an actual track.
Correct.
You know?
But that shows that it's 1 and 2. And that's what the NYBS does. It has to be 1 or 2, 1 and 2. So tree structure has to have a track or have something around it, or something around it, them being like, listen, there's something huge was around here doing, and it could even be a bear at that point. Who knows?
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter what I believe at the end of the day. I may believe that a couple of bends were done by Sasquatch because of XYZ, but if I don't see any tracks, I will say, I don't see any tracks though. So am I going to tell you 100%? Nope, I'm not. I need more than this to say that this is actually done.
I mean, our boy Mike, I love Mike. I mean, he said maybe, oh, I got to pull it up. He's brought up, he goes, what if it was Deer Man or Squirrel Man? I mean, I guess we're just, I don't know, Mike.
I've never seen Squirrel Man, but
I don't know. I mean, that's like a cartoon. I mean,
he's nuts.
With bunnies with little ears. But Jay,
short-eared bunnies, watch out.
All right, so Jay asked, you know, what is the most remote area of the lower 48? I mean, once again, if we look at the map and things like that, it would be out west. But I mean, you're talking like, you know, all of Colorado, the Rocky Range, all of Washington State. I mean, that Pacific Northwest is super remote. But if you go from the Adirondacks up here through Vermont, through New Hampshire, all the way to Maine,
there's some pretty remote area there.
It's pretty remote.
Yeah,
it's pretty remote. Okay, so here we go. This is great because we got a good question right here. So she asked, what if an old structure, and we were just talking about this. Yep. Now, this is the issue I have with that. Okay. Yeah, it's possible. And we brought that up. Joe and I were actually talking about this today. the thing with I think Clarissa, I think I want to make sure I say it right. The thing with that is this, is that you can find an old structure that may be possible, okay, but and there's nothing left it, erosion, water erosion, just weathering in time. We get that. But the problem then becomes this: what is telling you it's a Bigfoot structure other than what you think? Because what we think honestly doesn't mean much when we're trying to come and look at facts. Okay, facts of the matter are facts of the matter. So in a situation where there was an old tree structure, an old bend or something like that, me personally, and I don't know, Joe, I mean, we were talking about this. Me personally, I would just be like, all right, well, it's nothing, and have to move on because it's old. It's no longer there.
Right.
I was talking to Joe earlier about this too, in I think in my video, is that I found a native, and I think I showed this picture to you, Joe. I found Rachel and I are out running
the tree
bend.
Yeah, the
Native American tree bend.
They make them grow in a certain way.
Yeah. Rachel and I found a Native American tree bend, and it was amazing. And I've never seen one I've seen pictures, but I've never seen one in person. Come to find out, that tree bend is on a Native American pathway. So that makes sense. So to me, that's that kind of old sign. Well, it's been documented and logically calculated and everything, and it's fact. Fact of the matter is they used to do that. We found one, and I was like, oh my God. And I sent you guys the pictures. I'm like, I've never seen one in the woods before. Because I mean, just to have the tree still be alive like that is amazing.
And once we get right down to it, we don't know that about Bigfoot, though.
No, we don't. We don't know, but we know that about Native Americans.
Theorizing.
Correct. And that's the big thing.
Theorizing.
You know, the older stuff, and like Mike says, and you say what our boy Mike says, because he's part of the show. As far as snaps, I check on breaks to see how old or if the wood has ever gotten wet. And that's another thing, you know what I mean? That's the problem when you find a lot of old stuff. Even that blind structure that we found at the client's house, it was old. I mean, that track we found, it was an old track. It was nothing new. The only reason
from the previous season, even.
Yeah, or maybe even 2 years, who knows? You know, but because it was hard clay mud, so it could be there a hot second. But in the same sense, you know, we kind of, the only reason then we would be like, listen, it may be 1 year, 2 years old, but the track is still there. If then we came across that blind and then just guessed and be like, well, we know that we think that they do this kind of thing because we've seen this in the past. That's weird. And, you know, logically it would make sense, but there's nothing to back that up other than my brain. We have to throw it out. I mean, and it's just what has to happen, unfortunately, in the situation of trying to show evidence, because it's all speculation. It's like I was saying earlier, who came up with Bigfoot's bend trees?
Right.
It's Bigfoot people.
Right. And it's all just theorizing from the fact that the certain Bigfoot people on one side of the topic equate them with being, you know, really smart bipedal apes.
And that's what they do.
And comparing it to what other primates do. And that's the only reason you got that, because, well, you can say, oh, well, chimpanzees and gorillas do this kind of stuff with trees, so maybe Bigfoot does it too. Okay, you can theorize that, but you can't say it's for definite, right? So that's where it did come from, I'm sure of it. You know, is by trying to compare it to the behavior of other primates, even us, you know, because we know that Aboriginals all over the world, right, did, and probably some still do, they mark trails and stuff by doing certain things. So, you know, people are going to say Bigfoot did it. Well, the thing is with that, with Aboriginals, we have something to go by because they're there. We know they exist. They do it, right? So we know that for a fact. We can prove that. Nobody's ever seen Bigfoot do this. We're just assuming that they did it. You know, even me. I assume that they do these things.
Oh, we all do, because that's how we learn things. So you would think that they would have a form of communication, you know, and Mike, you know, Mike's read what Mike's putting in the chat, because like I say, Mike is educated in these different aspects of it. Okay, so and he's the one that Joe and I do go to for this type of information, as far as the different types of entities and paranormal weirdness, I guess you would put in the woods. And I use paranormal lightly. All it means is out of the normal. So I'm not saying that that's where I leave it at that. But it would have to be a new sign. But coming back into these pictures, now, this is a problem that I have. So a person recently came to me and they showed me a picture, and then I'm like, all right, cool. And sure enough, you know, he's like, oh, well, I see this, I see this, I see this. And I'm like, sorry. I mean, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. End of story. Well, come to find out, someone else told him that he had dogmen and is sitting there. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And then they didn't want to go outside. They were scared. And I'm like, I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem, is that because we have some professional people in the field telling people that some of these blurry pictures that there's nothing in at all other than Mother Nature, pareidolia, and when you zoom in and pixelate the crap out of it, you can make your brain see anything you want. Telling people that they have Sasquatches, dogmen, Jersey Devils, Mothman, all this stuff, aliens, all this stuff at their house. Where is the line drawn then? Because now you're scaring someone
to the point downright rattle somebody, man.
And that's what happened. They didn't want to go in their yard. They didn't want to go outside. So when that happens, that's where I personally, as a researcher and just as a human being, I draw the line, because you can't make people scared on their property, in their house, because someone has the idea that what they're seeing in a photo is of a dogman, a Sasquatch, a Mothman, an alien. What's your fact? You have no facts.
Right. And you're just, and they're just doing it so they can get likes and follows.
For real. And that's what it comes down to, which is a problem. That becomes a problem, and you're starting to get into liability issues. The problem when you start doing that is when you start scaring people and they don't even want to leave their house and they don't even want to go outside, because now you've made an assumption based on nothing at all. You haven't researched the area. You haven't even gone to the place. You're basing your opinion on a picture that someone sent you, and then you tell them that they have this creature on their property, and you're circling 1,000 circles all over their yard, and then the person doesn't want to leave their house. You think that's okay? Come on, that's not okay. And Footer Nation, this is a problem that we're starting to see. Just because Joe, myself, Mike, Will, Diane, Rachel Carnan, everybody on the team, Ed, my boy Kenny, just because we want to see Bigfoots, we want to experience the stuff because we do it, doesn't mean everybody wants to have those experiences.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that. So when you start telling people in a blurry picture that they're seeing a dog man when there ain't no dog man in the picture other than a tree, and it's a tree, and I even proved it to them that it was a tree and showed them 5 different pictures showing it was a tree, and even sent it to a bunch of people who all said it's a tree, and then they don't want to go in their backyard because someone else told them that it was a dog man, and he's like, oh, I don't want to get eaten by a dog man.
And they believe that person because, in their opinion, they're professionals.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, this is where we're at. I mean, seriously.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm just going to say it outright. It's fraud, and it's wrong.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is, because there's no data to back up the blurry picture, which then you're scaring people on their own property. If there's any Bigfooters out there, you need to be careful with that. We investigate private clients. We do private clients. They sign paperwork. They do all that. There's privacy clause. You know what I mean? That's why we even Joe, we just say private client. We leave it at that. But we're not going to sit there and tell people that if I don't have a fact of the matter, and I don't have a fact of something that is being seen in a picture, other than maybe you believe in pareidolia, and that's fine, and you don't believe in pareidolia, saying it's a made up word made by humans, which is fine. If that's your what you want to believe, that's fine. But you can't take that of what you believe and then try to go and tell someone on a private property who live in that house that they're seeing crocodile man or lizard man, and they're terrified and won't even leave their house now,
Right.
or won't let their kids play in the yard, or won't do this stuff because now you put this thought in their head. So, I mean, this is stuff that's happening. Unfortunately, this is happening. And this is where, as a community, you know, we need to kind of draw the line a little bit with this kind of stuff, because you can really screw somebody's life up. You really can. And that's why we have to talk about it, because it's come into the facts of people are now bringing this to private people's homes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's one thing to, you know, confirm somebody's bias if it's a picture that they took somewhere out in the woods somewhere, and you go, oh yeah, that's a dog man. Good thing that you left when you did, or whatever. It's one thing to tell them that, where it's way out in the woods. It's quite another to say that it's right on their property at their home, where they're supposed to feel safe.
And here's a good one. So this person is backing up kind of what we're saying. She goes, you know, Garnet says, when I saw a Bigfoot walk across the field from my house, people freaked me out for like 2 years. I became a freaking paranoid freak. Now, 3 years later, I become much more comfortable about being out in the woods and enjoying my property again, which is great. And, you know, Garnet, we're glad that you're more comfortable, because that's the way it should be. It's your house. You should be comfortable. But for 2 years of your life, you had to deal with being paranoid, freaking out of the outdoors, you know, and once again, that's not right. Like, that's not right. You know what you saw. You saw what you saw. But at the end of the day, people can't, you know, people scare people into thinking other things. The difference is, you know, Garnet, she saw a Bigfoot. But if you look at some of these pictures that there's nothing in the picture whatsoever, and then people are claiming a simple claim that they're seeing something in the picture, which could be a demonic evil thing. It could be anything, right? Because ghost hunting is no different, really, you know? So they claim what they're seeing in the picture is what they're seeing. You're going to screw up people's lives. And that's something that is not right. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and Mike says it really good from our standpoint. Okay, so this is from the Earth standpoint. He's like, our property is an illusion and it only applies to other humans. Birds and squirrels and other nature don't abide by our fences or land. Neither will Sasquatch. It doesn't mean they're dangerous. Correct. 100%, Mike. We agree with that. But if someone takes a blurry picture of something, does zero research, doesn't back up anything, doesn't go to the house, and then states to the person that there's a dog man and you need to be careful because there's a dog man on your property, that's where you cross the line, because you're basically putting the fear into somebody, and that's not right.
Or it may be somebody that, you know, has watched so many Bigfoot slasher gasher movies where Bigfoot is always a murderous killer, and they have that in their mind, and then somebody tells them, oh yeah, that's a Bigfoot, and they're watching you.
Yeah,
that's downright gonna scare the shit out of somebody like that.
Well, we can even take it one step further. Let's take it one step further. How do you know these people don't have depression? How do you know that these people don't suffer from mental illness? Right. How do you know that these people don't have high anxiety? How do you know that these people don't suffer from panic attacks? Right. How do you know what these people you're telling this information to don't have PTSD?
Right.
All sorts of stuff. And then you're telling somebody that they have something on their property that's not on their property. I mean, come on, like that's ridiculous. because you could really affect their life. Just like that one person, you know, Garnet said, like she said, 2 years of her life were lost basically on her own property because she was paranoid. She was paranoid. Now she's cool. Now she's good. But 2 years she was paranoid. That's not right. It's not right. And that's what we're seeing with all these blurry pictures is people are trying to, you know, people are trying to push their beliefs on other people without facts. There's no fact to back that up.
Yeah.
You know, and like she said in here, and this is what happened with it, and and this is all good stuff. She goes, I had a ton of BFRO wanting to camp out there 24/7, put up all the cameras, the infrasound machines and drones. And she said, no, I can't do it, which is, I mean, that's a good thing. But once again, this is what happens, because this is the other thing that happens. Once someone knows that you had a sighting and where you had a sighting, Joe and I kind of have probably been no different in the past. I've kind of grown out of it as I've gotten older, but people want to check it out. They want to see what they can find. They're interested in it. So it does make sense. The problem with that though is, someone like her who was freaking paranoid and freaking out all those years, that's damaging. That could be damaging. Now, thinking about telling someone that they have a dog man who is, out of all the cryptids, one of the dog man's supposed to be like the worst cryptid to even talk about, because it's the new trending cryptid, because everybody finds it cool because it's a dog man. But in the same sense, it will tear you apart and kill you and leave your limbs for the coyotes. You tell them that you have a dog man and the person has panic disorders and shit like that. You think that's going to go over well when there's no dog man in a picture?
Right.
This is serious stuff.
Absolutely. It can be very serious, man.
And you got to remember, friends, we do this for a hobby. A hobby. That's what it is. That's all it is, an obsessive hobby. Yeah. But to inflict other things on people's lives, it's not good. And like Joe said, especially if you're trying to get likes.
Yeah, likes and follows.
So
and I refuse to do that. I'm not going to get all into confirmation bias and all this other stuff and just start doing the things that I've seen other people do just so people will follow me. I tell people straight out, man, I understand if you start following my page and then all of a sudden you find it boring because you're not seeing freaking pictures that I'm putting up of what I'm claiming to be Bigfoot dancing through the freaking forest and and all this, because if it's not there, it's not there, and I'm not going to claim it's there.
Exactly.
I do what I do. Fact is, I know they exist. I've seen them. I may never see one again. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is. I may never, ever have another encounter. I'm hoping that that's not the case, but, I might never see one again. It's not that common, really. It isn't. I mean, maybe some people have areas where, there's more than where I'm at. Okay, fine. I'll grant you that. Maybe, some of these people that have their encounter stories, and look, I will tell you, just like I've said before, I don't do I believe every single encounter story I hear? No, I don't. There's some that I downright think is just a story. Do I believe most of the encounter stories that I hear? Yeah, I do believe most of them. I might be skeptical about certain parts of it. But that's neither here nor there. That wasn't my experience. It was your experience. And so people that say that they've had generations living on their property, like that lady we investigated, I think it's a generational thing. Yeah, maybe they're seeing them more often. But really, for like us, like, your run-of-the-mill investigators that we're going out into the woods in places to look for them, you don't see them all the time, And, no matter how many pictures you want to take, blurry pictures, and say that it's a Sasquatch, man, this is the advice I give everybody. even myself, this includes me, it includes Gary, it includes anybody that was to take a picture and say that, okay, look, this is a Sasquatch. Okay. Go back. You want to validate that and make sure that you can claim it as a fact. Go back to that same spot, same conditions, exact conditions, same angle. Take that picture again. And if what was in that picture the first time is still there, chances are you're just dealing with a trick of the eye. If it's not there, well, then there was something there. And if you say that you were there and you know it was a Bigfoot, well, then, okay, then maybe it was a Bigfoot. But, if you just take a picture one time and go, well, okay, well, that's nothing, man. That's nothing. It's a picture. It's a picture. And it only means what it means to the person taking the picture,
But even we take one more step though. Let's think about what you just said. One more step. What is the probability that you would even be able to take that same picture in the same conditions, in the same weather, in the same angle, especially in the woods? It's nearly impossible to find that spot, but that's going to change the whole picture, because that one little angle that all of a sudden, if they see it, so we have to play it safe, because you may go back, and I agree with Joe 100%. I agree with you.
Well, you would have to do it right away. You don't want to wait 3 weeks
right away.
To do it.
But even if you do it right away, to try to get that exact same angle of what your hand are and stuff like that, you have to take into account, Footer Nation, that even when you go back and you take a picture in the same spot, you may no longer see it there, but doesn't mean it's still a Bigfoot or what it was, because you may not be holding the camera or your cell phone in the same exact angle, the same exact where your feet were planted. Where your feet were planted when you took the original picture is the most important thing when you're taking those pictures, to get those angles. I can probably say, unless you're a professional tracker, 100% you're not going to do it again.
Yeah, your average person probably isn't.
I know I'm not even, and I'm a bush person, but I know there's no way I'm going to go back. I can go to the same area, but to put my feet right back into the same spot where I took that picture.
And, it does depend upon the type of thing that you're taking a picture. Like,
exactly.
This person sent me a picture. They weren't claiming that it was a Bigfoot. They were just saying, "Hey, look, is this a bear?" And I looked at the picture, and there was something there.
Yeah.
And they were standing from where the picture was taken. They were at the bottom of it looked like a stream probably ran through there at one time, or does occasionally. And at the top was this thing, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, does look like it was dark in color. Looks like it could be on all fours. Maybe it's a bear. And basically what I told her was, look, I'll tell you what, you want to be sure that it was a bear? Go back to that spot. And now that one should be easy to find from the angle of the picture. You should be able to know where you were standing at that creek or whatever it was, where that tree was and where that particular thing was. Go take a picture up there again. Or if you walk there and you don't see whatever that was that you took a picture of, if it's not there anymore, chances were it's a bear.
Yeah. Perfect example. No, that's a perfect example.
So, I couldn't tell whether it was a bear. It could have been. It could have been that she took a picture of, because there was a lot of rocks there. It could have been a big boulder with moss on it.
Yeah, up higher.
Or it could have been a tree stump with moss on it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen people send me pictures, and it was actually a boulder, because they don't take elevation into consideration when they're in the woods. So from far away, it looks like there's something in a tree, but when you actually look at it, it's actually the elevation that's gone up. Right. So it looks like behind the tree, the boulders look like they're up in the trees, and then it would look like something big.
But my point is at least try to take more than once, just
correct.
At least attempt it, right? If you're trying to, especially if you're trying to convince somebody else that you took a picture of something, well, if you really want to validate it, try to take that picture again.
Yep.
See if it comes out the same or if it doesn't,
And that's the key thing. So, Footer Nation, we're going to wrap this up. So, Joe, you
Yep.
have so much stuff going on at all points in time. So, let Footer Nation know where they can find you at and all your projects.
Western New York Bigfoot Research Organization. Whew, take a deep breath before you say that.
Whiny Bro.
So Whiny Bro, yep, Facebook page. I have that page. If you want to become I do have another page, the Scientific Sasquatch, which is a group page where you can be an actual member. If you want to join that page, just simply request to join. I usually go ahead and approve the requests. That one you can actually post on if you want. I do have it set to where it has to go through post approval, because you do have to do that with, because you don't want some rando coming in there and just posting stuff that doesn't even have to do with the subject or whatever. But you can post on that one. My main page is only for my stuff. That's why it's not a group page. It's just for me to show people whatever. But that's where you can find it. I got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm going to be doing some documentaries, the camping adventures of Joe and Sally, my dog. And we're going to try to do some stuff with that and see what we can see and have a good time with it. And that's where you can find, our podcasts, New York Sasquatch Live with Joe and Molly, who's still waiting to see a Bigfoot penis. And
You always have to do that to me.
always with the Bigfoot penis. And of course, Sasquatch Speaks, which is they're on Wednesdays and Fridays, respectively. One's at 7 on Wednesday, one's at 8 on Friday. So you can find all of it there. You can ask me whatever kind of questions you want. I'll try my best that I can to answer them. And if you ever see anything that you have a different opinion on than I do, please don't hesitate to say, hey, have you thought of it this way? Or did you think about it this way? And we can have a discussion about it, man. I'm not afraid of differing points of view because, hey, you know what? In the past, I've been wrong about some stuff. I could be wrong again. I'm okay with it.
We could be wrong about it all. So we could definitely be wrong about it all. All right. And the New York Bigfoot Society and myself, Kenny Irish, we're on hiatus from season 3 wrapped up of the NYBS podcast show, radio show. We're quiet. Right now, we are underground. Kenny's doing a bunch of stuff. He's traveling the United States doing those like cons and Bigfoot festivals and doing that stuff with his book and selling his book, American Cryptids. Please check it out. It's a great book. It really is. Myself, I'm just kind of underground right now. I'm doing the work, doing the research, have a lot of stuff going on the backside, and staying quiet. So people, same thing like you, Joe. People are like, well, where's all your pictures? Guess what? There's nothing to show right now. And I'm not going to show you crap. So there's nothing to show. But doesn't mean that there's not stuff happening. There's a difference between nothing to show and stuff happening. So once again, there's some weird stuff that has been happening. But this is where you have to do the research and all the stuff to back up what that weirdness is. So until I do all that and get the documentation and data collected, I won't talk about it because it may be nothing. So, but that's what we're doing. So the NYBS is busy in the woods. And that's what we're doing. Now, last thing before we leave you, as you know, I'm all about hiker safety. I'm a stickler on hiker safety. Now, Angela, I'll be at Champ Day too, so you can come see both of us. All right. So I will be at Champ Day. So I will be having a table. So we'll be hanging out doing that. So that should be a good day. August.
Oh, okay. I'm going to try to make it there.
Hey, come hang out with me if you want.
Let's see if Molly wants to go there. So
yeah, you're more welcome to come hang out, and you can come hang out at the table and chill with us, and it'll be a good time. Be something different, right?
See Champy.
Yep. So Angela, definitely come visit us. Come see Kenny. Come visit us. Well, if we can get Joe and Molly to go, that would be awesome. I mean, I'm gonna have actually my mystery investigator Luke, who's our tech guy, who unfortunately he can't come to a lot of stuff because of scheduling. And he's kind of our man of mystery. He will be there. So, and he's very tech savvy. That's what his that's his wheelhouse, is that stuff. But anyway, so we'll be hanging out. I think Rachel's going. There's a bunch of people going. A lot of people will be up there. So that's happening in August. But other than that, we're just in the woods doing stuff. So as always, friends, let's say hiker safety. Before I leave you, please take out your first aid kits and go through them. I've been preaching this for weeks now. Weeks. Please, if you're watching, if you're a hiker, you go into the woods, you go even for a little day hike, take out your first aid kit, open it up, go through all your stuff to make sure all your things aren't dried out, overly expired, any things that's been used that you never replaced. Please, please, please go through them. Okay, add those new batteries into your first aid kit. Add that lighter into your first aid kit. Crusty Band-Aids don't work, right? Add some new Band-Aids with the nice waterproof ones, whatever you need to do. I did a video on this like weeks ago. But anyway, every week, I'm telling you, please go through your first aid kits, take it all apart, and make sure everything is good to go, and put it back together, and put it in your pack or your rucksack or whatever you use, and keep it in there. Always keep it in there so you always have it.
Watch
Okay?
Trails and Tales.
Yes, New York Trails and Tales.
That's
with
it.
With me and my daughter McKenna. She's a 13-year-old outdoors woman. Because now she's a teenager. She just turned 13. She broke her arm, so now we're dealing with she had her first breakage. So she's now, it's a rite of passage. You got to break a bone, you get rite of passage, they say. So we'll be having some more Trails of Tales shows coming up, but right now she's kind of broken. But anyway, go through those first aid kits, please. I'm just asking. Listen, it will save you. It's a 5-minute thing to do. It took me 5 minutes to go through mine. Do that. Here's a hack. Buy a cheap dry bag. You can go to Walmart, buy a dry bag for like $5 because they're cheap there. Take that first aid kit, put it in your dry bag, crunch it up, boom, boom. Guess what? Now it all stays dry. As always, friends, keep it squatchy. We'll see you from the trail. Deuces, everyone. Who's that? Deuces.